The pen felt heavier than any sledgehammer I'd ever lifted. After building an empire with these hands, I was about to sign it all away to the daughter I'd given everything.
The morning fog rolled across San Francisco Bay as Robert Thornton sat in his home office, staring at the legal documents his daughter had sent. At 74, his hands still bore the calluses from decades of working construction before he built Thornton Development into a West Coast powerhouse. Now, those same hands trembled as he read the family trust restructuring paperwork. His daughter Melissa's voice echoed from the speakerphone. "Dad, it's just a formality. With you and Mom traveling so much, someone needs to manage things day to day." "Your mother's in the hospital, Melissa. We're not traveling anywhere." "I meant after she recovers," Melissa's husband, Derek Winters, cut in smoothly. "This just ensures continuity. Nothing changes except who signs the checks." Robert studied the documents again. Hidden in the legal jargon were provisions that would transfer control of everything, the company, the properties, even his personal accounts, to Melissa and Derek. "I need to discuss this with your mother first." "Dad, Mom's sedated half the time. The doctor said not to stress her with business matters. Besides, we've already had offers on the Nob Hill house. The market's perfect right now." "What offers? That house isn't for sale." Silence. Then Derek. "We thought it might be time to downsize. That place is too big for you two." Robert's jaw clenched. The Nob Hill house where he'd carried Margaret across the threshold 45 years ago, where Melissa had taken her first steps, where Margaret now lay recovering from her stroke, needing familiar surroundings more than ever. "I'll think about it," Robert lied, already reaching for his phone to text his old friend and attorney, James Nakamura. "Dad, the buyers need an answer by Monday." Robert hung up. His phone immediately buzzed with texts from Melissa, each more insistent than the last. He ignored them, instead typing a message to James. "Need to see you urgently. I think my daughter is trying to steal my company." Through the window, he could see the Golden Gate Bridge emerging from the fog. He'd helped build 2 of the towers visible in the skyline. Now he wondered if he'd failed to build the one thing that mattered most, a daughter with integrity. His phone rang. The hospital. "Mr. Thornton, your wife is asking for you. She seems agitated." "I'll be right there." As Robert grabbed his keys, another text from Derek arrived. "Saw your car at the office at 3 a.m. last night. These confusion episodes are concerning. Maybe it's time for assisted living." Robert checked his security app. His car hadn't moved from the garage all night. The fog outside wasn't the only thing clouding his world. Someone was manufacturing a very different kind of haze.
$3 million. That's what a father's love was worth on the open market. I stared at the empty accounts where my life's work used to be and felt my heart shatter into exactly 3 million pieces. James Nakamura's law office occupied a corner suite in the Transamerica Pyramid. Robert sat across from his friend of 30 years, watching James's expression darken as he reviewed financial statements on multiple screens. "Robert, when did Melissa gain access to these accounts?" "Last year, when Margaret had her first mini-stroke. Melissa said she'd help with the bills while I focused on Margaret's care." James pulled up transaction histories. "She's been busy. Systematic transfers to offshore accounts in the Caymans, Cyprus, Singapore. Professional money laundering." "How much?" $3.2 million from your personal accounts. But Robert, that's just the beginning." James switched screens. "She's been negotiating to sell Thornton Development to Zhao Industries. The deal's worth $80 million. Robert gripped his coffee cup so hard it cracked. "That's impossible. I'd have to sign." "Look at this." James displayed a signature page. "Recognize that?" It was Robert's signature. Perfect. Too perfect. Digital forgery. High-end stuff. She must have hired professionals. Robert's phone buzzed, a text from his project manager, Carlos. "Boss, security caught Derek in your office last night. Said he was getting files for you. Should I check what he accessed?" "Tell Carlos yes," Robert showed him the message, "and have him change all the locks." James leaned back. "Robert, this is criminal. We need to involve the FBI. Interstate fraud, money laundering, elder abuse." "She's my daughter, James. She stopped being just your daughter when she started stealing from you." James's voice softened. "I know this is hard, but they're not going to stop. These people never do." "These people? You mean my family?" "I mean criminals, because that's what they are now." Robert's phone rang. The hospital again. "Mr. Thornton? Your daughter is here trying to get power of attorney over your wife's medical decisions. She has documents saying you're mentally incompetent." "Don't let her sign anything. I'm on my way." Robert stood, fury replacing shock. "James, call the FBI and freeze everything. Accounts, property transfers, all of it." "Already on it. Robert, be careful. Desperate people do desperate things." As Robert drove to the hospital, memories flooded back. Teaching Melissa to ride a bike, her college graduation, walking her down the aisle to marry Derek. When did his little girl become someone capable of this? At a red light, he noticed a car following him, the same silver Tesla that had been behind him since he left James's office. He took a sudden right turn. The Tesla followed.
I found my daughter in my bedroom, wearing my dead wife's pearls. In that moment, I realized the little girl I'd raised had become a grave robber, and I was still breathing. The ICU was quiet except for the steady beep of Margaret's monitors. Robert held his wife's hand, her fingers cool and fragile in his calloused grip. The stroke had taken her speech, but her eyes were alert, frightened. "It's okay, Maggie. I won't let them near you." Footsteps in the hallway. Melissa appeared, Derek behind her, both dressed in designer suits that screamed of money they hadn't earned. "Dad, we need to talk. Get out." "This is ridiculous." Melissa's voice carried the entitled tone she'd perfected in private school. "Mom needs proper care. Sunrise Manor has the best stroke rehabilitation program in California. Your mother needs to be home." Derek stepped forward, all false concern. "Robert, be reasonable. You can't provide round-the-clock medical care. You're exhausted, confused." "Confused? Like when I supposedly drove to my office at 3 a.m.? Interesting how my car's GPS shows it never left the garage." Melissa's mask slipped for just a moment. "GPS can malfunction. Like signatures can be forged. Like $3 million can accidentally transfer to offshore accounts." Silence filled the room. Margaret's monitors beeped faster. "I don't know what you think you know," Derek started. "I know everything." Robert pulled out his phone, showing them the recording app. "The FBI knows too. Agent Sarah Chen will be contacting you soon." Melissa's face went white. "You called the FBI on your own daughter?" "My daughter died somewhere between the Cayman Islands and Cyprus. I don't know who you are." "How dare you? How dare I?" Robert's voice rose. "You tried to sell my company. You forged my signature. You're trying to lock my wife away so you can sell our home. You want to talk about daring?" Derek grabbed Melissa's arm. "We should go." "Not yet." Melissa's eyes hardened. "You think you've won, Dad? I know about the Chinatown project, the permits that got approved after you donated to the mayor's campaign, the safety inspector who retired early to Florida on your dime." Robert felt his chest tighten. "Those donations were legal." "Were they? All of them? Want to bet your reputation on it?" She smiled coldly. Drop this FBI nonsense, sign the papers, and everyone walks away happy. Or I go public with 40 years of dirty deals. Melissa, Margaret's voice, barely a whisper. Her first word since the stroke. Everyone turned. Margaret's eyes were fixed at her daughter, filled with such disappointment that Melissa stepped back. Mom, Get out. Each word cost Margaret enormous effort, but her meaning was crystal clear. Security guards appeared in the doorway. Robert had texted them during the confrontation. These people are trespassing. Please escort them out. As security led them away, Melissa turned back. You'll regret this. Both of you. When you're alone in that big house with no one who cares, remember, you chose this. After they left, Robert sat back down, taking Margaret's hand. She squeezed weakly. I'm sorry, Maggie. I'm so sorry. Margaret's eyes said what her voice couldn't. This isn't your fault. But Robert wondered. Somewhere in raising Melissa, had he focused too much on building his company and not enough on building her character? Had his ambition taught her that success mattered more than family? His phone buzzed. Agent Chen, we've frozen their accounts. Arrest warrants will be issued within 24 hours. Are you somewhere safe? Robert looked at his wife, then typed back. I'm exactly where I need to be.
She sat across from me in an orange jumpsuit, my daughter, and I searched her eyes for any trace of the baby I'd walked to sleep 1,000 nights. All I found was a stranger planning my destruction. The Federal Detention Center in Oakland was a far cry from Melissa's Pacific Heights lifestyle. Robert sat in the visiting room, waiting. He'd refused to post her $1 million bail, but he couldn't stop himself from coming to see her. She entered in orange, her designer highlights growing out, revealing dark roots. She sat down hard, picking up the phone. Come to gloat. I came to understand. Understand what? How you destroyed my life. Her laugh was bitter. Derek left me, took what money he could and ran back to Boston. Guess he only loved me for my inheritance potential. I'm sorry. No, you're not. She leaned forward. You want to understand? Fine. You gave me everything except what mattered. Private schools, European vacations, a trust fund, but never time, never approval, never good enough for the great Robert Thornton. That's not true, isn't it? Remember my first design project in college? I was so proud. You looked at it for 30 seconds and said, needs work, before taking a call from Tokyo. The memory surfaced, sharp and painful. He'd been negotiating a crucial deal. The call couldn't wait, or so he thought. Every birthday, every recital, every parent-teacher conference, you were building something. Well, congratulations, Dad. You built an empire, and a daughter who learned that taking matters more than giving. So you decided to take everything? I decided to take what you owed me. All those missed moments, they had a price. Derek just helped me calculate it. Derek used you. Like you used Mom, parading her at company events, the perfect corporate wife, while you spend 18-hour days at the office? Robert flinched. Margaret had never complained, but how many dinners had she eaten alone? How many anniversaries celebrated with expensive gifts instead of his presence? Your mother understood. Mom enabled you. And when she had her stroke, probably from stress, you finally started paying attention to her. Too little, too late. Don't you dare. What? Tell the truth? Melissa's voice cracked. I'm facing 20 years, Dad. 20 years. Because I wanted what every child wants, their father's attention. I just sent you an invoice for it. You committed fraud. You tried to destroy everything I built. I tried to destroy the thing you love more than me. Tears finally came. The company, the legacy, the empire of Robert fucking Thornton. Because maybe, just maybe, if it was gone, you'd finally see me. Robert sat in stunned silence.
Through all his anger, through all the betrayal, he hadn't seen this. The desperate child still seeking approval, using crime as a twisted cry for attention. Melissa. Save it. She wiped her eyes. My lawyer says I should take a plea deal. Testify against Derek, serve 5 to 7 years. Guess I'll have plenty of time to think about where we went wrong. We can work through this. When I get out, you'll be in your 80s, if you're still alive. She stood. You know what the saddest part is? I became exactly what you taught me to be. Ruthless, ambitious, willing to sacrifice anything for success. The only difference is you did it legally. She hung up the phone and walked away. Robert sat alone in the visiting room, her words echoing. Had he really taught her this? In all his lectures about hard work and success, had he forgotten to teach her about love, loyalty, integrity? His phone buzzed. A text from Melissa's speech therapist. Amazing progress today. She said your name 3 times. Robert stood slowly. Maybe Melissa was right about some things. Maybe he had been a terrible father, too focused on building his company to build a relationship with his daughter. But she was wrong about one thing. It wasn't too late. Not for Margaret. And maybe somehow, not even for them.
Marcus thought he married into money. He was about to learn he'd married into a war. And I'd spent 40 years learning how to demolish things properly. The war room was set up in Thornton Development's boardroom. FBI agent Sarah Chen stood before a wall of documents, photos, and financial records. Robert sat with James Nakamura, Carlos, and his new security chief, former SFPD detective Ray Espinoza. Derek Winters is more than just an opportunist, Agent Chen began. He's done this before. 3 times across different states, always targets wealthy families with daughters, always disappears when things heat up. A professional con man, James said. With a law degree, Chen added. He knows exactly how far to push without triggering federal attention, until now. Robert studied Derek's photo. Handsome, polished, predatory. How did I miss this? He's good at what he does, Ray Espinoza said. But he made one mistake. He got greedy. The previous marks, he took a few $100,000 and vanished. With you, he went for everything. Where is he now? Boston. But here's where it gets interesting. Chen pulled up financial records. He's been in contact with Zhao Industries, trying to salvage the Thornton Development deal. He's claiming he has your authorization to negotiate. Robert's jaw tightened. He's still trying to sell my company? More than that, Carlos spoke up. Some of our clients got calls. Derek's telling them you're mentally incompetent, that he's taking over operations. 2 of them already pulled their contracts. Which clients? Carlos named them. Both were old friends, men Robert had worked with for decades. Get me a meeting with them, today. Robert, James cautioned, we should let the FBI handle. No, Robert stood. He wants to destroy my reputation, my relationships. He picked the wrong target. Agent Chen, what do you need from me? Keep him talking. He's arrogant. He'll reach out, try to negotiate. When he does, we'll be ready. Robert's phone rang. Unknown number. Speaking of which, Chen said, answer it. We're recording. Robert picked up. Robert, how's the family? Derek's voice oozed false warmth. Where are you, Derek? Close enough. Listen, this whole FBI thing, unnecessary drama. We're family. We can work this out. We're not family. You're a parasite who infected my daughter. Infected? I showed her what she was worth, more than the scraps of attention you threw her between deals. What do you want? What I've always wanted, the company. Sign it over and I disappear. Melissa takes a plea deal, serves minimal time, everyone moves on.
And if I refuse, then I release everything. Every permit you expedited, every inspector you influenced, every corner you cut building your empire. The FBI might have me, but the court of public opinion will have you." Robert met Agent Chen's eyes. She nodded. "Keep him talking." "You've got nothing." "Don't I?" Derek's voice hardened. "Check your email." Robert opened his laptop. A draft press release filled the screen. Thornton Development, 40 years of corruption. Attached were photos, documents, edited to look damning. "Creative writing," Robert said calmly. "Maybe, but in today's world, perception is reality. How many contracts will you lose when this goes viral? How many years fighting lawsuits, even frivolous ones?" "I don't care." "Everyone cares about their legacy, Robert." "You're right. I do care about my legacy, which is why I'm turning Thornton Development into a foundation. Affordable housing, veteran assistance, urban renewal. The paperwork's already filed." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Check the Secretary of State's website. The Thornton Margaret Foundation, established this morning. The company you're trying to steal? It no longer exists in the form you wanted. Derek's breathing quickened. "You can't do that. There are shareholders. I'm the sole shareholder. Was anyway. Now it belongs to the community." "You gave away an $80 million company out of spite?" "I gave it away out of love, for the city I helped build, for the workers who built it with me, for my wife, who always said success means nothing if you don't lift others up." "You're insane." "No, Derek, I'm free. Free from parasites like you, free from the weight of wealth you never earned, free to focus on what matters, my wife's recovery, my remaining years, and maybe even salvaging something with my daughter." "Melissa will never forgive you." "Maybe not, but she'll have 5 to 7 years to think about it without you whispering poison in her ear." "This isn't over." "Yes, it is." Robert nodded to Agent Chen. "Derek, you should know this call is being recorded. Federal agents are currently at your Boston hotel. I'd advise surrendering peacefully." The line went dead. Agent Chen smiled. "Beautiful work. We've got him on attempted extortion, wire fraud, and conspiracy. He'll be joining Melissa in federal custody by tonight." Robert sank into his chair, suddenly exhausted. "What happens now?" "Now we clean up the mess," James said. "The foundation paperwork is real. As of this morning, irrevocable trust. The company continues operating, but all profits go to community development." Carlos whistled. "Boss, that's your entire fortune." "Not entire. I kept enough for Margaret's care and a modest retirement. The rest?" Robert shrugged. "Maybe Melissa was right about one thing. I spent so much time building wealth, I forgot to build wisdom. This feels like a good start." Ray Espinosa's phone buzzed. "Boston PD has Derek in custody. He tried to run, got about 2 blocks. "Good." Robert stood. "Now if you'll excuse me, my wife is expecting me. She's learning to walk again, and I promised to be there for every step." As he left the boardroom, Robert felt lighter than he had in years. The empire he had built was transforming into something greater, a legacy of service rather than wealth. And maybe, just maybe, that would be the lesson Melissa needed to learn.
The call came at 3 a.m. Your daughter tried to kill herself. In that moment, every dollar stolen, every betrayal, every angry word became meaningless. I was just a father racing to save his child. The psychiatric ward at San Francisco General was a world away from the federal detention center. Robert rushed through the corridors, his heart pounding. The duty nurse led him to a secure room where Melissa lay sedated, her wrists bandaged. "She used a broken plastic spoon," the nurse explained quietly. "Superficial cuts, but the intent was clear. She's been on suicide watch since." Robert sank into the bedside chair, taking his daughter's hand. Without the designer clothes and perfect makeup, she looked younger, vulnerable, like the little girl who used to crawl into his bed during thunderstorms. Mr. Thornton, a woman in a white coat, entered. I'm Dr. Patricia Yamamoto, the attending psychiatrist. We need to talk about your daughter's condition. They stepped into the hallway. Melissa is experiencing severe depression and anxiety. The reality of her situation, the criminal charges, losing her husband, the public shame, it's overwhelming her. What can I do? That's complicated. She has tremendous anger toward you, but also desperate need for your approval. Classic attachment trauma. Were there issues in her childhood? Robert thought of all those missed recitals, the birthday parties attended by nannies instead of parents. I wasn't present enough. Work always came first. And her mother? Devoted, but maybe too accepting of my absence. She never pushed me to be home more. Dr. Yamamoto nodded. Children interpret absence as rejection. Melissa likely developed what we call a transactional view of love. If money equals attention, then taking money becomes taking love. Can she recover? Yes, with intensive therapy. But Mr. Thornton, she needs to know she's loved unconditionally. Not for her achievements, not for being the perfect daughter, but simply for existing. I don't know if she'll believe me. Then show her. Actions, not words. Robert returned to Melissa's room. Her eyes were open now, unfocused from medication. Dad? I'm here, sweetheart. Shouldn't be. Should let me go. Would be easier for everyone. Never say that. Robert squeezed her hand. You're my daughter. Nothing you've done changes that. I tried to destroy you. You tried to get my attention. Message received. Melissa turned away. Too late. Derek's gone. My career's over. I'll be a felon. Who'd want me now? I do. Why? Robert thought carefully. Remember when you were 7? You tried to make breakfast for Mother's Day? Burned the eggs, spilled orange juice everywhere, nearly set the kitchen on fire. You were furious. I was scared. But your mom said something I never forgot. She said she was trying to show love the only way she knew how. Maybe that's what this was. A very expensive, very illegal attempt to show me how much my absence hurt. Tears rolled down Melissa's cheeks. I just wanted you to see me. I see you now, and I'm not going anywhere. The trial. We'll face it together. I've hired the best defense attorney in California, not to get you off, but to get you help. Therapy, not just prison. Why would you do that? Because I failed you once. I won't fail you again. Dr. Yamamoto returned. Visiting hours are over, but Mr. Thornton, we have a family therapy program. Would you be interested? Yes, Robert and Melissa said simultaneously. As Robert left, Melissa called out, Dad, tell Mom I'm sorry for everything. Tell her yourself. She's getting stronger every day. She'll be ready for visitors soon. Outside, Robert sat in his car, emotionally drained. His phone had dozens of messages, clients, reporters, friends wanting to know about the scandal. He ignored them all, instead calling Margaret's nurse. How is she? She's asking for you. She saw the news about Melissa. I'll be there soon. As he drove home, Robert thought about Dr. Yamamoto's words. Unconditional love. Had he ever truly given that? Or had his love always come with expectations? Good grades, right schools, successful career? The city lights blurred past. Somewhere in federal custody, Derek was probably planning his next con. But Robert found he didn't care about Derek anymore. The real work, rebuilding his family, was just beginning.
My daughter took the stand,
and for the first time in her life, told the complete truth. Every word was a knife, but sometimes surgery is the only way to heal. The federal courthouse in San Francisco buzzed with media attention. Robert sat in the gallery, Margaret beside him in her wheelchair, her hand gripping his. After months of therapy, she could walk short distances, but today she needed the stability. Melissa entered in a conservative suit, her attorney beside her. The plea deal was on the table. Testify against Derek, serve 3 to 5 years minimum security with mandatory therapy. The alternative was trial, at potentially 20 years. The prosecution calls Melissa Thornton Winters. She took the stand, her voice steady as she was sworn in. The prosecutor, ADA Jennifer Liu, approached. Miss Thornton Winters, please describe your relationship with Derek Winters. We met at a charity gala 5 years ago. He seemed perfect, successful, charming, interested in my work. I didn't know he'd researched me extensively, that I was a target. When did the plan to defraud your father begin? Melissa glanced at Robert. About 2 years ago, Derek started pointing out how unfair it was that Dad controlled so much wealth while we struggled. He made it sound reasonable, like we were just claiming an early inheritance. Was this Derek's idea alone? No. Melissa's voice dropped. I wanted to hurt my father. Derek gave me the means, but the anger was mine. For 2 hours, Melissa detailed the scheme. The forged documents, the gaslighting attempts, the systematic theft. She named Derek's associates, revealed offshore accounts, exposed the entire network. Miss Thornton Winters, Lou continued, do you regret your actions? Every day. I destroyed my family for money I didn't need, trying to fill a void that money could never fill. Derek's attorney, a shark in Armani, stood for cross-examination. Isn't it true you were the mastermind, that Derek was simply following your lead? No, Derek had done this before. He showed me articles about his previous marriages, spun them as gold diggers who'd wronged him. I believed him. I was an idiot. You're facing serious prison time. Wouldn't you say anything to reduce your sentence? Melissa straightened. I'm telling the truth because it's the only thing I have left to give my parents. They deserved a better daughter. The least I can do is help stop Derek from destroying another family. No further questions. As Melissa stepped down, she paused by Robert and Margaret. I love you both. I'm sorry it took losing everything to remember that. Margaret reached out, touching Melissa's hand briefly before the bailiff led her away. The trial continued for 3 days. Derek, representing himself after firing his attorney, gave a performance worthy of Broadway. The wronged husband, the ambitious entrepreneur persecuted for success. But the evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, recorded calls, previous victims testifying via video link. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Derek's mask finally slipped, revealing the rage beneath. As they led him away, he screamed at Melissa, "You stupid bitch! You had one job. Keep your father in line." The outburst sealed any remaining doubt about his character. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Robert prepared to push through, but Margaret tugged his sleeve. "Want to speak," she said carefully. The crowd quieted. Margaret, the woman who'd stood silently beside Robert at countless events, finally had something to say. "Our daughter made terrible choices, but she's getting help, learning. We stand by her." She looked directly at the cameras. "Family means nothing without forgiveness." As they drove home, Robert marveled at his wife's strength. The stroke that had stolen her words had somehow given her a more powerful voice. "Do you really forgive her?" he asked. Margaret nodded. "She's our baby. Always. Derek got 25 years. Melissa will serve 3, maybe less with good behavior. We'll be there when she gets out. Robert squeezed her hand. The empire he'd built was gone, transformed into something better. His daughter was going to prison. His wife was learning to speak again. And somehow, despite everything, they were more of a family than they'd ever been.
Prison visiting rooms all smelled the same, industrial soap and broken dreams. But today, something was different. Today, my daughter smiled like she meant it. 2 years into Melissa's sentence, the visiting routine had become familiar. Federal Correctional Institution Dublin was minimum security, more like a strict college campus than a prison. Melissa had become a model inmate, teaching financial literacy to other prisoners, earning her MBA through correspondence courses, attending every therapy session. "You look good," Robert said as she sat down across from him. "I feel good, clear, like I'm finally thinking straight." She smiled, and it reached her eyes. "How's Mom?" "Walking a mile every day. Speech is almost normal. She's started painting again." "I got her letter and the painting of the garden. I hung it in my cell." They talked about safe things, books, the weather, Margaret's progress. Then Melissa leaned forward. "Dad, I need to tell you something. In therapy, we've been working on accountability. Real accountability, not just saying sorry. Okay? I've been writing to Derek's other victims, apologizing, offering to testify if they want to pursue civil cases. And," she took a breath, "I want to donate my trust fund to them, whatever's left after restitution." Robert studied his daughter. "That's almost $2 million. Money I didn't earn, money that represents everything I got wrong about love and value." She met his eyes. "I want to earn my own way when I get out. Start fresh." "What will you do?" "There's a nonprofit that helps women leaving abusive relationships manage their finances. They've offered me a position when I'm released. The pay is nothing compared to my old job, but the work matters." "I'm proud of you." Melissa's eyes filled. "I haven't heard that I can't remember when." "Then I haven't said it enough. I'm proud of you, Melissa. Not for the degrees or the career or any of that. For facing yourself. For changing. Dr. Yamamoto says I'll be in therapy for years, maybe forever. The patterns run deep. We all need help. I've been seeing someone too, learning about emotional availability, presence, things I should have learned 40 years ago." Mom mentioned that. Said you haven't missed a single Sunday dinner since I've been here. Turns out the business runs fine without me working weekends. Who knew? They laughed, and for a moment, the years of pain fell away. "Dad, can I ask you something? Why did you really give away the company?" Robert considered. "Because I realized I'd been building the wrong legacy. Towers and profits, that's not what matters. The foundation has housed 300 homeless veterans, funded job training for 500 kids. That's a legacy worth leaving." Derek never understood that. He thought taking your money meant taking your power. He was wrong. My power was never in the money. It was in the relationships, the trust, the ability to build something from nothing. He could steal money, but he couldn't steal that. A guard signaled time was up. "Dad, will you and Mom really be there when I get out?" "We'll be the first faces you see." As Robert left, he felt the shift, the bitter weight of betrayal finally lifting. His daughter had tried to destroy him, but in the strangest way, she'd saved him. Saved him from dying at his desk, from measuring worth in dollars, from missing the precious years with Margaret. The sun was setting as he drove home, painting the sky in shades of redemption. Tomorrow, he'd visit the Foundation's newest project, affordable housing for single mothers. He thought Melissa would approve.
She walked out of prison with a cardboard box and a bachelor's degree in humility. My daughter, the former millionaire, was finally rich in ways that mattered. The morning fog clung to the hills around FCI Dublin as Robert and Margaret waited in the parking lot. 3 years, 2 months, and 5 days after entering federal custody, Melissa was coming home. Nervous? Margaret asked, her speech now fully recovered. Terrified, Robert admitted. What if she's changed her mind about us? What if... She hasn't, Margaret pointed. Melissa emerged from the gates, carrying a single box, wearing jeans and a simple sweater, clothes Margaret had sent. No designer labels, no pretense. She looked younger somehow, despite the years. When she saw them, she stopped, uncertain. Then Margaret opened her arms, and Melissa ran. The three of them stood in the parking lot holding each other, crying. Other families moved around them, understanding the sacred nature of such reunions. "Let's go home," Robert finally said. "Where's home?" Melissa asked. "I know you sold the Nob Hill house. We have a cottage in Sausalito, 2 bedrooms, perfect size." During the drive, Melissa stared out the window, like a child seeing the world for the first time. Everything looked so bright, so fast. "Take your time," Margaret said. "There's no rush." The cottage sat on a hillside overlooking the bay. Simple, warm, nothing like their former mansion. Melissa stood in the doorway, hesitant. "Your room's upstairs," Robert said. "We kept it simple. Figured you'd want to make it your own." The room held a bed, desk, bookshelf, and a small painting, one of Margaret's, showing their old garden in bloom. "It's perfect," Melissa set down her box. "I don't deserve this." "Stop," Margaret's voice was firm. "No more of that. You've paid your debt. Time to move forward." Over dinner, Margaret's homemade lasagna, Melissa's childhood favorite, they talked about the future. "The job with the financial counseling nonprofit starts Monday," Melissa said. $35,000 a year. I'll need to find a roommate, start saving. Live here. As long as you need. Save your money." "Dad, I can't keep depending on you." "You're not. You're letting us be your parents. There's a difference." Melissa's phone buzzed, a basic model, all she could afford. She glanced at it, paled. "What is it?" Margaret asked. "Google alert? Derek's appealing his conviction. Says he has new evidence." Robert took the phone, read the article. "He's claiming you masterminded everything, that he was coerced. It won't go anywhere. But the media won't care about a 3-year-old story. You're not that person anymore." After dinner, they sat on the deck watching the sunset. Melissa pulled out a worn notebook. "I wrote something, in prison. A letter to the person I was." She hesitated. "Would you like to hear it?" They nodded. "Dear past Melissa, you thought love was transaction, attention earned through achievement, affection bought with perfection. You were wrong. Love is a father visiting every week for 3 years. Love is a mother learning to speak again and using her new voice to defend you. Love is coming home to a simple room and a homemade meal and knowing you're worth more than all the money you tried to steal. Signed, someone learning to love correctly." Margaret wiped her eyes. Robert cleared his throat. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. I read it every day to remember who I'm becoming." Later, as Melissa unpacked her few belongings, she found an envelope in the box. Inside, a photo. Her parents had her college graduation, beaming with pride. "I kept that in my cell," she told Robert when he came to say goodnight. "To remember that once, before everything went wrong, you were proud of me. I never stopped being proud of you. I just got better at showing it." Dad, what happened to the house? Our old house? The foundation turned it into transitional housing for women leaving prison. Seemed appropriate. Melissa smiled through tears. Mom was right. You did build something that matters. We all did. Just took us a while to figure out what. As Robert turned off the light, Melissa called out, Dad, thank you for not giving up on me. Never crossed my mind. But it had, in those dark early days. Thank God he'd been wrong about giving up. Thank God for second chances, for Margaret's strength, for the strange blessing of losing everything material to gain everything that mattered.
5 years after my daughter tried to destroy me, we stood together at a podium. She was about to tell her story to 200 women, and I was about to understand that redemption isn't just personal, it's generational. The auditorium at the Thornton Margaret Foundation was packed. Former inmates, social workers, family members, all gathered for the annual Second Chances Conference. Melissa stood backstage, nervously adjusting her simple blue dress. "You'll be fine," Robert assured her. "They need to hear your story." A rich girl who stole from daddy? How inspiring is that? A woman who faced her demons and rebuilt her life. Very inspiring. Margaret appeared with the event coordinator. 5 minutes, honey. The keynote speaker just finished. Through the curtain, they could hear applause dying down. The MC took the microphone. Our next speaker has a unique perspective on financial crime, family dysfunction, and the power of accountability. Please welcome Melissa Thornton. Melissa walked on stage to polite applause. She stood at the podium looking out at 200 faces, women who'd made mistakes, families torn apart by crime and addiction, people seeking hope. "My name is Melissa, and I'm a convicted felon." The room was silent. 5 years ago, I had everything: designer clothes, luxury car, a 6-figure job. I also had a father I resented, a mother I ignored, and a husband who saw me as a mark. Within 2 years, I'd stolen $3 million from my parents and destroyed my family. She told her story without euphemism or excuse. The entitlement, the crime, the arrest, the suicide attempt, the slow, painful work of therapy and accountability. I used to think love was transactional. My father worked all the time, so I thought taking his money was taking back the attention he owed me. I was wrong. Love isn't a transaction. It's a choice, a daily choice to show up, especially when it's hard. In the audience, Robert saw women nodding, some wiping tears. My parents chose to love me through my worst moments. They visited every week. They paid for therapy I couldn't afford. They gave me a room in their home when I had nothing. Not because I deserved it, but because that's what love does. Melissa looked directly at Robert and Margaret. Today, I work for a nonprofit helping women manage their finances after trauma. I make in a year what I used to spend on handbags, and I've never been richer. She paused, scanning the crowd. Some of you are here because you've hurt people you love. Some because you've been hurt. Maybe both. Here's what I learned. Redemption isn't a destination. It's a journey. Every day I choose to be better than I was. Every day I fail in small ways. But every day I try again. The money I stole, most of it's gone. Restitution, legal fees, donations to my husband's other victims. But the relationships I broke, those are healing, slowly, carefully, but healing. She pulled out a letter from another woman, Derek Cond. She thanked me for testifying, for helping her get justice. She said my courage gave her hope. Me, the woman who helped him, giving someone else hope. Her voice cracked. That's the miracle of accountability. When we own our mistakes fully, we transform them into teaching moments. When we face our darkness, we can help others find light. My father built an empire in construction, towers that touched the sky. But his greatest building project? Reconstructing our family after I tried to demolish it.
That's the legacy that matters. She looked at the audience one more time. Whatever you've done, whoever you've hurt, however far you've fallen, there's a way back. It's not easy, it's not quick, but it's possible, and you're worth the effort. The applause started slowly, then built to thunder. Women stood, some crying, some cheering. Melissa stood frozen, overwhelmed. Robert and Margaret made their way on stage. Together, the three of them faced the audience, a family rebuilt from rubble, stronger at the broken places. After the event, a young woman approached Melissa. "I'm getting out next month. My family won't talk to me. How do I start?" Melissa took her hands. One conversation at a time, one truth at a time, one day at a time. "Here's my card. Call me when you're out. You don't have to do this alone." As they drove home, Robert watched his daughter in the rearview mirror. She was reading through the stack of cards and notes audience members had given her, each one a story of pain and hope. "You did good today." "I told the truth. That's all." Sometimes that's everything. Margaret turned in her seat. "Your father and I have been talking. The foundation wants to create a new program, financial literacy and family counseling for women transitioning from incarceration. We want you to run it." "Mom, I don't have the experience." "You have the only experience that matters. You've lived it. You've survived it. You can teach others to do the same." Melissa was quiet for a long moment. Derek would hate this, me helping his other victims, building something meaningful from the wreckage he caused. "Good thing Derek's opinion doesn't matter anymore," Margaret said. "No, it doesn't." As they pulled into the cottage driveway, the sun was setting over the bay. 5 years ago, this same sunset had watched Robert discover his daughter's betrayal. Now it witnessed something else. A family who had learned that love isn't measured in dollars or achievements, but in showing up, telling truth, and choosing forgiveness. "Dad," Melissa said as they walked inside, "remember when you said I tried to destroy you but ended up saving you?" "I remember." "You saved me too, by letting me fall, by catching me when I hit bottom, by showing me what love really looks like." Robert hugged his daughter, this woman who had traveled so far from the entitled girl in designer heels. "That's what families do," he said simply. And in the cottage by the bay, with its simple rooms and priceless love, the Thornton family began the next chapter of their story, not as victims or villains, but as teachers of the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes, the greatest inheritance a parent can leave isn't money or property or even reputation. Sometimes it's the proof that redemption is possible, that love endures betrayal, and that the best revenge against those who try to destroy you is to build something better from the ruins. Vincent Russo had been wrong about one thing in his original assessment. His daughter hadn't died somewhere between the Cayman Islands or Cyprus. She'd been reborn, in a federal prison, in a therapist's office, in the visiting room where truth finally trumped transaction. And that rebirth was worth more than all the millions Derek had tried to steal. The fog rolled in from the bay as the Thornton family settled in for the evening. Margaret painting in her studio, Robert reading financial reports from the foundation, and Melissa preparing for tomorrow's counseling sessions. 3 people who had lost everything that seemed to matter, only to discover what actually did. Outside, the city lights twinkled like stars, each one a life, a story, a chance for redemption. And in a cottage in Sausalito, a family that had been shattered learned the most valuable lesson of all. Sometimes, breaking is just the first step to becoming whole.